Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Can It Take a K26, the show where we take a variety of blasters and see if they can be upgraded using a K26 spring. I am your host, Captain Xavier, and I believe this episode is going to be genuinely exciting. I'm excited because today I'm going to be trying some vintage blasters. And by vintage, I mean blasters that are pre-End Strike. And I'm sure there's a long Reddit thread somewhere out there debating at what point Nerf blasters are vintage. And if you wish to weigh in on that, go ahead and do so on a piece of paper and put it into the nearest garbage can. Our first contestant is the Nerf Sharpshooter. The Sharpshooter was released in 1992, which was probably about a decade before most of you were even born. The Sharpshooter was supposedly the first Nerf blaster to actually fire a dart, the old Mega Darts. And I'm not sure if it fired old Mega Darts or something even older. I believe it was actually something slightly older. It is direct plunger, has a couple of dart holders on the top, but what we want to know is, can it take a K26? Let's find out. Alright, we are in. Interesting. There's a sticker on the plunger tube. That's fascinating. The gasket is in remarkably good shape, considering its age. Not great, but not bad. The plunger tube is kind of a softer plastic than you usually see on plunger tubes. It would not be difficult to rebarrel it, obviously. But I'm not going to do that in this video. For this video, I just want to see if we can make it take K26. Okay. Spring comes off easily enough. Now, the trick is going to be finding something for this to fire. I might have one old school Mega. I don't think modern Megas are going to fit over that. We're in luck! I do have one dart that fits and a foam Iron Man that fits, so we will have something to fire out of this. K26 does fit in the plunger tube, so that's good. Question will, of course, as always, be compression, which may or may not be a problem. We'll find out. Oh, jeez. Alright, question 1, will it catch? Yes! Question 2, will it shoot? Yes! Alright, that is a yes for the Sharpshooter. It can, in fact, take a K26. On to the next contestant! Our next contestant is the Sharpshooter 2. The Sharpshooter 2 was released in 1995 as part of the Action Nerf series. It fired the old Mega Darts, I believe, the old Whistlers or suction darts. It has dart storage for 2. It is direct prime, but it has a neat feature. It's got 2 barrels, and the pump-looking thing on the front determined which barrel fired. Now, this one does not belong to me. I wish it did. I want to get my hands on one, because what I want to do is rebarrel it so that one fires modern Mega and the other fires Elite. And so you'd have a small holsterable pistol that would fire either type of ammo. Obviously the dual strike does that, but it's a bit big and unwieldy and would not fit in a normal holster, whereas this one would. So that's my plan for that. That's what I'm going to do to it before I get it back to the actual owner. But for now, we're going to find out if it can take a K26. All right. Well, that is a fairly simple switch mechanism there. I don't know how much bleed there is in it, but let's take a look at the plunger tube. Well, it is similar design. 2 seals and then a plastic washer to keep the spring away from the plunger. All right. There's our spring. I was worried these older Nerf guns would be harder to get apart, but that is distinctly not the case. There are fewer screws. They are coarser screws. and they come apart quite easily. Alright, let's see if I have a dart that this will fire. I do. So, hi. Whew. Sure enough, the Sharpshooter 2 will take a K26. Now, like I said, this one isn't mine. It's going to have some mods. The barrels will be altered. Whoever sent this to me, kindly remind me who you are, because I previously had terrible bookkeeping. I have no idea who you are anymore. So, this is going to be a fun one to mod. I have got to get myself one of these. If anybody out there has one that they are willing to part with, get a hold of me and let me know. Otherwise, I'll have to source one on my own. On to the next contestant. Our next contestant is the Defender T3. The Defender T3 was released in 1996 as part of the Nerf Cyber Strike gear. And it fired both the old Mega Darts as well as arrows. And it was a fascinating idea. It usually had dart holders, but they've been lost to time. But it's got two priming handles, one for the dart shooter and one for the arrow shooter. And the top part is actually removable. And so you can have just the pistol that just shoots the darts, or you can have just this part. By itself, this part doesn't work very well. You have to, you can just pull back and release. There is no catch. The catch only works when you have it attached to the blaster. But it's a nifty concept. It's got dart holders down here that are normally covered when it's together, which isn't particularly handy. And then I assume there were arrow holders up here. I think it will fire the same Mega Dart that the other one did, but I don't know that for sure. But we are going to try to get this thing apart, and we're going to see if it can take a K26. I have seen a modification for this where they took the plunger tube out of this and put it into here, and it was quite ridiculously powerful. And that is kind of what I'm planning to do with this. My hope is to be able to have this be a pistol rocket launcher or a 3-shot absolver launcher. I will probably make it modular so that it can take either of those attachments or fire single elites or modern megas. We will see. I do like my modularity, so we will see what all can be done to the internals of this to make it quite ridiculously powerful. So, let's get it open and see if it can take a K26. It's possible that I am not the first person to have opened this blaster, as there is a screw missing. Oh! And there was something previously alive in here. That's fun. Okay. So as you can see, the trigger mechanism both is connected to this, which was the release for the upper section as well as for the firing mechanism. That is not a very large plunger tube. But there's an awful lot of room in here, which is, I suspect, why people discovered that it was easier to swap out for the bigger one. But we're going to go ahead and try the lower one for now. When I do my primary mod, I will do it separately in another video. Plunger tube is a little bit cracked as well, which is all well and good that we're planning to replace it all anyway. There we go. Now it catches. Will it shoot? Yes. All right then. That's the lower half. Let's take a look at the upper half. Yeah, right. Well, the first thing we notice is that that is a much larger plunger tube, but has almost no seal. Apparently, this plunger tube can be fit into there, and then it's just a matter of adjusting the plunger. The guy I saw, I think he said he'd put a big bad bow plunger tube into it. I'm more inclined to try to use this one, but though this is going to have to change because there, like I said, the seal, there's like a 1/8 of an inch of nothing. So that'll have to be fixed. But let's check it for K26. Question number 1, will it even fit? No. So in its current size, K26 is slightly too small. I could probably take it to a bandsaw and take off just a little bit and get K26 on there. Alternatively, we could try Exploder Spring. But quite frankly, I don't know that that's any stronger than the original. Alright, so that is a yes for the lower half of the Defender T3, but a no to the upper half. The plunger rod is slightly too big for K26. If you cut it down on either side, you could probably make it fit. Just taking off, you know, a quarter of an inch, or just a blade's width on both sides would probably be enough for you to be able to get K26 around it. Well, like I said, my plan for this is to take the plunger tube out of this and put it into this. Definitely some work to be done there, but that's going to be a really fun build. Look forward to that one. This thing should be a monster when I'm done with it. I do plan to make it modular, put my usual 1/2 inch thread attachment so that I can use any of Ire's attachments on this, which with that barrel should be impressive. I'm really, really hoping that this thing is powerful enough to fire a Demolisher rocket, because a Demolisher rocket on a pistol this small that is rear prime would be magnificent, but you will have to look forward to that in the future. On to the next contestant. Our final contestant is one that we have all been waiting for, including me, the Crossbow. The Crossbow came out in 1995, as we are all aware, also as part of the Action Nerf series. It usually, of course, had a faux crossbow prod, which doubled as the dart holder. It fires both original megas that could be put inside the barrel, or arrows that could be put outside the barrel. It is direct plunger, and is supposedly a beast. So, let's get this thing open and see if it can take a K26. Alright. Well, the first thing that we see is that it does indeed have an enormous plunger tube. Very long draw. The internals are relatively solid. Most people put such a heavy spring load in this that they actually need to reinforce this, or replace the whole thing with either polycarbonate or metal or some such. I don't know how much power I plan to put in it. I know roughly what I am hoping to get out of it. I may need to do an extended plunger, or other various things. But I have a vague notion of roughly how much power I want to get out of it. I don't want maximum power, because all the Nerf wars that I go to do have small children. So there are limits to how much power I really want to have, but this one is meant to be something beastly. Being me, of course, I do plan to make it modular. I plan to put the same 1/2 inch thread that is on Ire so that I can use any of her attachments. The one that I'm probably going to use the most for this particular build is the bolt action brass barrel that I made for Ire. Putting it on a Titan is just a little bit too much, but I think putting it on this might be just enough. So we're going to look into that. I also wouldn't mind being able to fire, you know, shotguns or rockets off of it, especially rockets, just because shields are starting to become more and more of a thing at our games. So if I could fire a Demolisher rocket off of this, or one of the smaller like XBZ rockets, that would be just dandy. And since my single elite barrel will do that quite nicely, that would work. Alternatively, if I have the brass breech on it, or a shotgun breech, I will have other blasters that can also fire rockets. So I like versatility. Obviously, this whole segment here is going to come out because that's just dead space and ridiculous. I don't know what I'm going to put up here. Something. I'd like to have something up there just for cosmetics, a flashlight, a laser sight, something. And of course, it'll be redirected like everybody does to fire out the front, but with a barrel attachment. So let's get it open and see what it can do as far as K26. That is very, very similar to the Defender T3. This did come out before it. Definitely going to be doing some research. Before I do this build, I will look up all of the great names who have done crossbow builds, Drac, and all of them to see what they recommend as far as modifications. Let us see about the K26. There's a wide segment. Yeah. So this particular K26 was given to me by Out of Darts at the last Fort Borst War. He has them custom made with flat ends, which make them a little bit easier to put into things. I'm not entirely sure why this widens right at the head the way it does. Probably just to keep the spring a little bit centered. To get K26 on, I'm gonna have to cut that down just a little bit, which y'all can wince, but I'm gonna do it. All right. Now it'll take a K26. Question is, how much K26? The issue, as always, is compression. If I put in the same amount as the original, we will start with that. So we're not getting enough compression. Well, it catches. Where did my Mega Dart go? Lovely. Alright. So, not that there was a whole lot of doubt here, but yes, the 95 crossbow can take a K26 with minor modifications. I am so looking forward to doing some beautiful and terrible things to this. Like I said, I've got some research to do because this one needs to be done right, and I'm definitely going to look up how other people have done it and try to do as good a job as I can. Like I said, there's a lot of things I plan to do different. Probably gonna, make a whole new trigger because this trigger just doesn't have enough meat to it, so definitely going to alter it so it comes out the front. Definitely going to beef up and reinforce a great many things. I'm definitely going to make it modular because that's my thing. And yeah, this one's going to be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for that. Let's recap. Alright, for those of you keeping score at home or who just skipped to the end to see the results, that was a yes to the Sharpshooter. That was a yes to the Sharpshooter 2. That was a yes for the lower half of the Defender T3, and I suspect yes if you cut the bar, but I didn't feel like it. And finally, unsurprisingly, that was a yes for the 95 crossbow, making this the first episode in a while, I think, where all of the contestants are yeses. So, like I said, I'm building myself a whole vintage loadout involving tech target eliminators, definitely the Defender T3 lower, the crossbow as my primary, possibly this in there somewhere, we will see. I'd love to get one of these eventually, but this one, of course, isn't mine. So there you have it. Look forward to those build videos in the very near future. One thing that I have been debating is whether or not I'm going to paint them in the X-Strike colors with the X-Strike logo. I'm currently leaning towards yes, just because I want them to match, and that's kind of my thing. But there's also the whole keeping the vintage looking vintage, but since I'm already modding the internals and rebarreling them and all that, we'll see. You might be able to talk me out of it, but for now I'm leaning towards yes on painting them in the X-Strike colors. Let me know what you think of that in the comments below. Comments, questions, concerns. If you have any links to people who have done this other than Drac, I know he has, and I'm sure there's dozens others. Go ahead and let me know because I want to do as much research on this one as possible. Any other comments you want to make in the comments section, go ahead and do so. And as always, thank you for watching.